So here would be practice number 2. I believe strongly in using the same drills for 3 practices in a row or similar drills, because in the first practice, the girls are scared and not confident. The second practice, they're like, okay, I'm starting to get this. And by the third one, they're like, I got this. And I can actually like think and do it at speed. So you'll see a lot of the same drills here. I would start with the same tight turn progression I did in the previous practice, but they would add that deception. So they would add eye, stick, leg, deception before the tight turn. And that would be the, I guess, the key teaching point, because in the previous practice, we would have already done all the tight turns. So adding that in now, after they've got a little bit of an idea of the proper edging and the crossover, cross under coming out, tends to work really well. I would keep the same in-between drill. You can imagine how funny the girls are with showing the numbers. They get like 2 hands up. They're showing 00. Sometimes someone puts up a middle finger. Anyways, they have fun with it, with the in-between drills. And, again, it keeps it quick for me in practice. Okay, we're going to go back to that figure 8 drill where you're, making the bow tie in front of your buddy. Let's do stick up, stick down, or numbers or whatever. And they're just into it fast, and they're getting tons of reps in. So if in the first practice we did open ice retrieval, now I'm doing into the wall retrieval. So it's the exact same teaching points, except the puck's on the wall now, right? So again, I would say to them, where do you see this in a game? I mean, this is everywhere in the game. On any time the puck is touching the wall and you're racing for it, it's an into wall retrieval. It changes a little bit depending how much pressure is on you, right? But I would ask that question, where does this happen in a game? Oh, on the breakout. Oh, in the offensive zone when I'm going to retrieve a dump in. Oh, in the neutral zone when a regroup falls apart or whatever it is, right? And then we would go through similar progressions. Weight shift, tight turn, put the puck on the wall. It's amazing if you ask them to put the puck on the wall. A lot of them don't have the touch to actually get it to go and sit on the wall. Like they don't have the ability to grade their effort to get it to sit there. Like they're smashing it or it only goes like 4 feet. So it's actually an interesting athletic challenge to get them to pass it hard enough that it sits on the wall. So I just showed, yeah, go ahead, Wally.
I'd like to interrupt because when coaches dump pucks in, sometimes where they place a puck, number one for safety, throwing it back, you want to create enough space so you don't crash into the boards. And that's one of the things I've found with some coaches in some small area drills where they've placed pucks. They just slid the puck in too tight, players went in too straight, and there's a safety factor there. So I just wanted to make sure coaches are aware of puck placement in any drill, safety first, and then purpose of the drill second. So as you mentioned with those girls.
No, and that's great, Wally. And I think having watched, like a lot of the injuries happen when the puck is against the wall. So it's going to happen in the game, right? The puck is going to get glued to the wall in the game all the time, right? It's going to be there. So this is where that weight shift, that deception beforehand, right? And then I'm teaching them how to do this safely. So the timing of your weight shift and your tight turn becomes critical, right? And it's hard because not all the rinks are the same to say, okay, you need to be surfing or you need to be on your inside edge by the hash marks. That doesn't work at a tiny rink where the hash marks are practically touching the wall. So I'm usually triggering them saying 2 stick lengths away, you've already started your weight shift or your deception so that you can tight turn into the puck and not lose any speed, right? So you don't end up smooshed against the wall. So that's an ideal situation. But of course, if there's more pressure, you're probably not coming out on a pure tight turn back in the direction you came from. You're probably going up the wall or down into the corner. So the only thing I would add into this and the into wall progressions is they're not always coming straight out. Often they're going to be doing that bow tie figure 8 that we worked on in the previous practice when their buddy was showing fingers or they were handling the puck. So now they might come up the wall and turn back and turn back. So now you're getting more tight turns because when it goes into the wall, the chances of you just coming out clean, there's just not as much space and time depending on where we are in the zone or where the pressure is. So we would do very similar progressions as what you see on the kind of top part of the drill, but we would do them into the wall. And then here I'm just showing throwing it into the hash or throwing it down to the goal line and how they would use deception coming out of it. So again, those drills would already be familiar to them. They would just be doing it into the wall instead of off the wall. And then it's the same drill again that we did the last practice, but now the puck is on the wall. So in the last practice, the puck was kind of floating around in here. So it was an open ice retrieval. Now their puck is on the wall. And so what happens is, I don't explain the drill any differently. It's okay, let's do that same drill as last week, but the puck's on the wall, but the girls struggle to get the puck off the wall. And so the backpack player leaves too early because she gets excited. Even when there's no pressure and it's a 2-on-0, she thinks that player is going to just pick it up clean and tight turn out and we're going to be off to the races. But often they overskate it. Often they mistime their deception and they end up smooshed on the wall and stopped. So it's interesting to see, just by the puck being close to the wall, how that backpack player assumes that her teammate's going to have the same level of success and actually leaves a little bit too early. And then, of course, as we add more pressure, right, it becomes more stressful for the player because she's that much closer to the wall than she was the previous week when I was floating the puck over by the dot line or over by the face-off dot, sorry. So again, it's the exact same drill, but it's a lot harder because the puck is on the wall. And I'm not always putting it down here on the goal line, like it might be in the corner, it might be closer to behind the net. The goalies are usually off in goalie world at this point, so we don't need to worry about running them over. But it's the same thing as breakout off the wall. And then we flip it. This is where they actually have to become hockey players. And now we do it in the offensive zone. It's the exact same drill. If we have goalies, but now you're going to retrieve a loose puck and you're going to turn up. Instead of trying to break it out, you're going to get an attack. And I just showed some versions here. I've got a million of them, right? But even that idea of go and retrieve that puck and just get to the net and get a shot. It's the identical concept, right? They still have to do the deception. They still have to do the tight turn. They still got to do the crossover to get speed. But instead of skating out of the zone, they're going to the net. So I teach the breakout part first before I teach the attack. That's just always the way I've done it. And then when I do it that way, the attacks seem to be quite clean right away because they already understand the concept of it and they don't stand on the wall trying to make a pass. Now, the backpack player is a little bit more challenging here because she doesn't, like, they're not trying to break out. She's trying to be creative. She's trying to find space, right? And so she doesn't know whether that's over here or up here or where it is. So this is a lot more challenging for them in terms of their creativity than it is on the breakout. For the breakout, they understand they got to go north. So it kind of restricts their space a little bit. So again, we would do a 1-on-0 version. We would do a 1-on-1 version where they got to beat someone to get to the net. We do it where they have a teammate pressuring them to get to the net. And then we do 2-on-0. And this is where it like just all of a sudden starts to be who understands hockey and time and space and who doesn't. Because you'll have the second quick come too close, even though there's not a lot of pressure. And then it's a 6-foot pass that's not really very useful. You'll have the player who hangs up by the top of the blue line and never even goes into support. So I always say it's the same backpack support. If she's under hard pressure, we need to be 2 stick lengths away. You need to be right there in case she needs you. And then if she turns up ice, you can be creative and open up. Again, the nice thing about the attack is you usually have a third player. And so she can be open up on the other side of the ice or below the goal line. Go ahead, Wally.
Yeah, I'm looking at that. And I almost say you've got having an actual 2-on-1 offensive low zone play situation allows your backpack player to figure out where to go. On a naked 2-on-0, it's hard there's no judgment. It's just sort of imagine what space you could go to because she's not going to get checked. There's not going to be a turnover. So in the game situation, the figure it out concept, a live next stage, mastering that deceptive skating, getting to the front of the net, going one way. The quick close support in the O-zone really depends on where the checker is and where the open space is going to be when the it all ties in where the puck carrier is going to go. So that finding the open spot, the soft area for the second player, would you change the term backpack to something else? And I haven't thought of it before, but this, you're a bit of a fox here. You're figuring out where to go. You're not getting into tight. You've got the puck. So
I still use the same term because then the player, it's something that can translate through the whole game for the players. It could happen. You could use a backpack in the neutral zone too. It would be everywhere, right? And so, but again, to Tim's point earlier, if your teammate is retrieving a puck and she's the only one over there, and she's going to turn and get her eyes to the middle right away, like you can hang out on the back door and be open, right? So again, it's that second player making the read. Do I have to be second quick? Like maybe you decide you want to go and do a cross with her and a cross drop or something like that. Like the attack version, to your point, Wally, is it's a lot harder for them. They want to have a play. They want to have this, this little play I've put here, where you kind of reload the slot and jump in the low slot for that, quick little play to the net. The girls want that. Like, tell me where to go. And I want them to not tell them where to go, just to see what they come up with first, right? Because they're just going to stand still and look and go, what do I do? Right? So I want to challenge them to make them figure it out before I say, well, you're going to stand here or you're going to do this, right? Because in a game, we might be looking for that play, but if it's not there or she turns the other way up the wall, then you're going to have to support her up the wall. So with most of the teams I'm working with, I've only really touched on this maybe 2 times on the attack side of it. And we're doing it all as 2-on-1s, right? So that you'll see a lot more crossing and, I guess cycling type of play. But this would be just sort of the introduction drill to get them to think about backpack support on the offensive side or in the offensive zone as opposed to our own zone.
Dominic Pittis.
Hey Kim, thanks.
Hey,
this is awesome. I love the backpack terminology. I think that's great. Obviously, we've heard second quick before, but the backpack is something I think would really resonate. I think, and it just kind of came to me now as far as on the offensive side. And on the defensive side, you said going the opposite way, the way that they turn. I think that you could probably potentially, use that on the offensive side as well, and then you would have a kind of a low support or to the wall, and then you could build in, you talk about the crossover, because typically, if you make a quick play, you're going to have to beat your player off the wall to be able to beat them back off the wall, and then have, like, you could just, as you can kind of see, you can kind of build that into a give and go. I'm thinking that for my own group, to be honest with you, just because I think it's, as you say, like it's tough for them to know where to go, but if they come in, they turn towards the net. If the backpack player kind of gives that support, now depending on whether they beat the player or not, now you can have that give and go, and then that crossover step you talk about creates separation. So I just wanted to add that. I think it's great, and I really appreciate you.
Thanks.
Kind of sharing.
No, it's my pleasure. And again, this, Tom, like they struggle to just get open and be creative and like go to find space. And so I'm trying to use terms that are universal, that will work with our youngest players all the way up to our oldest players, but also not infringe upon, some coaches like that, I call it the low to low play, like the low behind the net to the low slot, right? They love that little low to low kick out, quick shot on the net. Some of them want to bring it back up to the D and reload through the top. So all of this will work irrespective of what the team system is. So I just want to show a quick drill here. And once I've done this practice plan with the attack retrievals, then we start to get into a lot of 2-on-1s. So this would just be a way to engage the goalies a little bit more. So we're dumping the puck in. The player that gets it's on offense. So you're rewarded by hustling and winning a race, but the other one's coming quick. So you've got to work to beat her. because you know there's going to be hard pressure because the other person also wants to win the race. So this is very universal, and you can run it as an attack version or a breakout version. Here it would be the attack version. So the player is going to retrieve it. Other player knows she's on D. This player's just trying to beat her. I keep it below the tops of the circles, or else they start to come up here in like tight turn 42 times. Right. And then if you didn't have the goalies or you wanted to work on your breakouts, obviously you could do it the opposite way around. And the player who retrieves it's trying to skate it out, and the other one's forechecking and trying to score. So it just makes it more game-like for them. I also would do it. I have here as a 2-on-2, but I do it as a 2-on-1 as well. So to start to get them to think about the backpack, you'd have a second player here in the line, and whichever team touches it first instantly adds a second player. They don't have to pass to her. She immediately can jump in the play. So the second player in this line, if there was another X, or this should be an O, I guess. If there was a second player in each of these lines, whoever wins this race and wins possession immediately engages her second player. So now they have that quick 2-on-1. And now we have quick support. And you'll see if you just do it, the second player like stands up here and doesn't do the backpack. You're like, dude, what did we just talk about? Like for the last hour? I'm like, oh, I have to go close. So they go close, and then you start to see little, chip plays off the wall or little crosses, right? But their instinct is to like go and stand over here and bang their stick like they're open. And then you can do it to 2-on-2 version as well, where if the defending team then gets possession, she automatically adds a second player. So we've all done drills where it's like add a man, where you have to pass it out to add the second player. But I like the idea of having the instant add because it's really encouraging quick support. And it's a little bit more game-like, right? You're watching here, who's winning this battle? Oh, we won the battle, bam, I got to go and support her. Oh, my teammate got it, bam, I got to go and give quick support. So that one, I often do at the end of these practices, and it like instantly ties everything together. And I always have the coaches of the team on the ice with me. So they're starting to use the terms and say, oh, you weren't the backpack, or we had to do this, or did you scan the ice? And so they've learned as well as we go through the practice using the key terminology. And then this is what I call this drill. I think this is Wally's drill, like the 2-on-2 continuous, where you have to break it out to get out. But I use this a lot at the end of my practices with teams. So these two start on the attack, these two are defending, these two have to break it out to exit the drill. And if these two lose it, they become the defenders. I think we've all seen a drill like this before, Wally's talked about before. So to make it more retrieval, I would have the players who are on attack. So when this breakout pass is made to the X's in line, they have to put it to the wall and retrieve their own puck. So we can add a little bit. It's not encouraging dump and chase, okay? But if I wanted to actually watch them use these retrievals, I would make two conditions. One, you have to dump it in and recover it. And the defending team, okay, oh, it's the Erica, thank you, Tim. I would have you dump it in, so you have to recover it, but the defending team has to touch the blue line before they can come and try and get the puck back, so that they don't like just hang out by their goalie and win the race, right? So you can imagine here, X breaks it out to X, the O's have to clear, X has to dump it in, and now we have to attack 2-on-2 off a retrieval. So that's a way to kind of bring it full circle. And I'm using this drill all the time with teams, so I can manipulate it based on what we worked on in the practice and switch the conditions to get what I want out of it.
Talk about that drill, because Peter Smith, working with the national team, he did a 3-4 checkers on 2D. That was it. The D had to evasive skate, use each other, figure it out, and cope with pressure. It was an outstanding drill for them to deal with the pressure and learn how to create time and space and yet support each other. And they would have to skate it out. There was no support. Another addition to that drill, it's 2 versus 2 plus 1, where the third player is in the slot area. They slide side to side. They can shoot or pass. They're available. And then another phase of it, it becomes 3-on-2. so there's always a high forward. So you're playing different numerical situations, learning to read and act, and the 2-on-2 is it's really that evasive skating. You get it out and pass it out. Use your teammate, maybe pick. Who knows? But there's so much that can be done on this. At what age level, like, would you consider doing some of the things we've talked about? This here plus what I've mentioned.
Well, this drill, I start with U11, and it would be from typically the ringette line down. And I would encourage the defenders to skate the puck out, not to pass it out, because at U9 and U11, we're still really encouraging players to be able to skate themselves out of trouble. So this drill, I start with our rep teams at U11 for sure. It's not always beautiful. It's actually really not beautiful in the beginning, but they don't get trapped in their end. And this is really like at U11, this is how a lot of the breakouts happen anyways, right? Like someone just turns up the ice and goes because the ice is so big relative to the size of the players. If I look at the rest of the practice, I mean, obviously the down ice tight turns, we would start more basic for the U9 and U11s, but it would still be in there. We'd work our way up to deception. We would do the figure eight once I know they can do tight turns. Retrievals, I would absolutely start with retrievals early with the players, but it's got to be fed by tight turns. So I would say all of this we can do with U9s and U11s for sure. Breakout retrieval. So I'll go back to the other practice plan because that's a little bit more simple. So let's see if I can find it here. Sorry, my desktop is gross. So I would do this open ice retrieval skated out, absolutely, with the little kids. Again, most of the teams I work with are rep, but even I work with some house league development stuff. They can do this drill for sure. And they can probably get to backpack the U9s and U11s of close support and turning. And then you just apply that all over the ice, right? So I don't know that I would necessarily get to the regroup and entry until a little bit later for those players, right? Like, or we could just spray it out and you just tight turn and go up the ice. I do that in my skills practices all the times, right? It's just one player going in and being evasive and skating it in. So I would start a lot of drills that way with the U9s and U11s. So they just continue to work on those deceptive, explosive retrievals. And then they can add the backpack player and the little play. But to me, that's team play. U9 and U11. I know I've told this story before, but our U11 AA's last year, who were getting annihilated at the beginning of the year and end up winning bronze at provincials. The only change I made during provincials was I introduced the backpack player. We didn't have a backpack. We had a couple of really good players who could skate the puck all the way down the ice. And then, of course, you get to provincials and all the other teams know who those players are. They just forecheck the crap out of her, or anytime she gets it, they just chase her. So the only change I made to the team is I said, we have to have a backpack player everywhere that puck carrier goes. I don't care where she is. We need a second player who's slightly behind her to pick up the garbage. And it was like a light bulb went off. All of a sudden, we had support everywhere. And we had one kid who was, 5'5" and could skate like the wind. And other teams would literally send 4 players on her. And we would just have our little backpack. And what happened? She lost the puck. And our little backpack player would go get it and skate down the ice with it. It was like instant support. We didn't practice it. I didn't draw it on a board. I just said, hey, you got to have this second person really close by. So when it all falls apart, you can get the puck. And if it doesn't fall apart, you can hug her when she scores. Like, you'll be right there. It's great. And they did it instantly. Like, they instantly made that change. And that was puck support. And all of a sudden we were moving the puck and carrying the puck with so much more ease. And I just started teaching them in open ice. And then I said, hey, like on the breakout too, let's have that backpack. And when the puck's in the offensive zone, let's have that second player. And at U9 and U11, where it's just whack-a-mole, if you have that player waiting outside the scrum of the bananas all bunched together, she's going to come out with the puck.
Tim
So,
Bothwell.
Go ahead, Tim.